Let me just because you want to see my face. You want to see my face. I'll mute myself. Let me make you a co-host.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me hang up from you and we'll talk. Okay, bye. Hi, sweetheart.
Yeah, hi.
Let me just make you louder.
I want to make you louder too.
Okay. Let me see. There's a little. I can't find the. It doesn't matter. Oh, here it is.
You want to?
There.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so you can share now if you want. I mean, or whatever. I mean, we can just talk about it, and then we can share 12. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So the first thing I'm going to do, right? I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to say that you're going to talk about the city of Ur. I'm going to talk about the life in Mesopotamia. I'm going to talk about a little bit about this person, Urutu.
Whatever his name is.
Yeah, Urutu, and then I'm going to add to whatever you didn't add. So, I'm going to talk about housing,
No, you want me to tell you everything I have?
Yeah, so that we don't overlap.
Why don't we look at just tell me, how do I get my,
Okay, so on the bottom, it says share screen, your co-host now.
Whoops, wait a minute.
You see it?
Okay. More. On the bottom of the screen, it says
Share screen.
Start video.
Yes. No, start video. Share screen. You see share screen? Yeah, that's your video. But then there's a green one. It says share screen. You see it?
Well, maybe it's under more.
Uh,
Share screen. It is.
Excellent. Yeah, maybe for host is different. You're right.
And now what?
Okay, so what did it pop up?
A whiteboard and an iPhone.
Oh God. Again, unclick that and go again, share screen. I don't know what's going on. Why it's because if I share screen, right, it's telling me like, oh, okay, so you're sharing a screen now. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so that you okay, so why don't you select your presentation? Wherever it is.
Let me get out of where I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're good now. I just need to select the presentation. I think you're presenting its screen. Okay, perfect. And then you can go into your presentation. Excellent.
Okay. Let me get my presentation. And I search for Google
Slide, right?
Google, I'll put in sign in. Okay, Google. No, it's Google login. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, you got to go to login first.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. The sign in Google accounts. I don't want that. Google. Slide presentation.
All right, why are you searching for it?
Go ahead, you just do what you have to do. This is not me. Mesopotamia. Um, No, yes, looking for something else. What am I looking for?
You want me to help you? Or?
Yeah, sure. Log in.
Okay, good. All right. So
Um,
now you're already in. By the way, on top, you see where there's dots on there? You see those Rubik's Cube on top next to the B? You're already in. You see B, it says man, you're already in. So now you gotta go slides. Google Slides. Exactly. Exactly. Now click on it. Ah, shit. No. Okay, go to your go click on the B. You see where it says B right here on the right? On the right, it says a big red B. No, all the way to the right corner, all the way right there. You see red B? Click on it. Application menu. No, lower, 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 lower. B, 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 lower.
there is no B.
There is a B. I see. It's right next to the. Okay, right there. Stop. Okay. All right. No, why did you click on it? Oh shit. Undo. Where's the slides? Hold on a second. I can't. Yeah. Go back. Oh god. Do you have a link to
These
the?
are Firefox settings.
No. You don't want that.
I know that. So let me click, maybe. Oh, God.
All right. I click.
I'll go back to the beginning.
Yeah. Go back to the beginning. You're on AOL.com. You don't want that. You want to be. You were already on Google, which is great. Slides. Log in. Exactly. Enter. Account. All right. Oh, you're already in. It says to sign out. You see where it says on top? You're already in the Google.
Okay, but
No, just type Google Slides, log in. That's the one you need. Oh, Google account. Click on Google account. You see on the bit. Oh yeah, excellent. Yes. Oh yeah, right there. You're in. Perfect. So now we're gonna look for slides. Try. Shit. All right. Hold on a second. Let me just Google it. I'll Google the Google. 1 second. How to access slides. Here, go to the google.com, log into the Google account, double click on the file. So your username and password, okay, double click a file. You see a file somewhere? Go home, click on home, and then file. Right there. See any files? No files. Okay. If you open Google Doc, sheet, slides, presentation, form, drawing. Okay, go to the, okay, double click file. Why don't you type files in the search Google account? Click on search, look into something else, search Google account in the middle. Yeah, perfect. View your files right there, Google Help, click on it. Yeah, exactly. Top. Nice. On your, okay.
not on Android.
No, it's not Android. Oh, view your file.
View here, view your files?
Yeah.
No,
It's something.
no, this is Android.
File. Search for files. Not Android. What? You see on top? I see this B right there. If you would click on that, you know that Rubik's cube, all the way the right corner, not all the way up. Not
There
on the
is
panel.
no Rubik's Cube.
Well, okay, I see it, but I wish I could just send you a screenshot.
Oh, right here behind?
Yeah, like right here. You see this? Yeah. Okay. Manage your Google account. Click on it. Ah, we were just there. Click on that again. Oh my God. Where's the data? Click on that one again.
Let me try something else. All right, let me get out. Let me just do this. I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to do Google login.
Oh,
Google Slides login. And here I am.
you got it. Oh my God. You're
You
amazing.
see it?
Let me see again. Yeah, I can see it. Okay, so let's go through it quickly.
Okay, so here.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah. Geography. Yeah. Agriculture. Nice. Development civilization. Yep. Ancient city, first kings. Yep. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you're gonna start because you have so much more and much more intelligence, so to speak. Standard of ore. Okay, contribution. Okay, perfect. Yeah, my presentation is gonna be more domesticated on, more like on focused on, how people lived. This is perfect because this is talks about history and where, the locality, and then where they had wars.
So
Yeah.
where do you want uh to do your presentation? At what point?
After yours, because yours is more encompassing. So first you're gonna go in, then I'll slide after that, or I will contribute as I go, and then maybe at the end just do the Utu.
No, not at the end. I have an ending statement. So
Okay, good. So then I can like slide it. I can.
you want to do it right after ancient cities?
Oh yeah. After ancient cities, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. But mine is gonna be more quicker because yours is, and it's gonna be probably like 30 minutes more than 30, because I'll let yours is so much more elaborate and better than mine. Thank you.
So what does that mean?
Mine is just gonna focus on more like contracts, how people live then, particularly this guy Utu.
Okay.
you know,
And then maybe what you can say is it will be best for me to describe how people lived during that time period by talking about Utu.
Oh, perfect. Yes, that's exactly how I would describe it. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so in the beginning, I also wanted to find like a little recording of music from Mesopotamia.
Oh, great.
So that we can start off on the right foot,
Good idea.
Let me see if I can find some video on YouTube or something. As you know,
There's actually a lot.
oh, really?
Yeah, I found a link, but the source isn't secure. And it's actually a scholar reading part of Gilgamesh.
Okay.
And it sounds just like Arabic. Not that I know Arabic, but it has a very similar sound. And that's a comment I'm going to make.
Okay, so,
So the only thing I don't know how to do now is to present.
oh, okay, so that's easy then. So what you can do is, on here is, you see where it says, slide, click on slides on top, the panel. No, the panel.
On the panel,
Yeah, you have
okay,
slides.
slide.
Yeah, click on it and then begin presentation. Oh,
No,
there's
it
no,
says new slide, duplicate slide, delete
okay,
slide.
okay, no problem, no problem, easy. View, go to view,
Slideshow.
slideshow, yeah, try that.
Yeah, but you know what? It fills up the whole screen. I already tried it.
You don't want to fill out the whole screen?
Yeah, but I want to look at my panel.
What panel is that?
You know, all of the slides.
Okay, so you can create presenter view. So escape, click escape. And then don't go to view. And then, is there a presenter view?
Show speaker notes, show film strip, show comments. But up here under slideshow, it has presenter view.
Okay, click on that one. Is that what you want to see?
Yeah, but is it covering everything?
Yeah.
On here, it looks awful.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what. Let me try just getting out of doing this.
Shit.
Oh, I see what it's doing. Okay. Now I don't need it. I'll do it like this.
Okay, because this looks so much better and it's amazing.
Okay. And what do I do? I don't think I'm going to need a pointer, but where would I find one?
Oh, okay. On Google Slides. Let me see. So if you hover over on the right, you see all this knickknacks on the right.
Are
you
we
know,
at the bottom of the screen or the top?
on all the way to the right, there's this, hold on a second.
Oh, by the way, here's this bee I found.
Yeah. That's exactly, yeah. So escape that. Let me see if we can pointer on a Google slide. Okay.
But you know what? You find it. I don't know that I'm going to need it.
So while presenting, click the pointer button on the toolbar. So you see the toolbar on the right. You see that?
Yeah, wait, let me see what this does. Oh,
Oh,
no.
don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay.
You see the toolbar right
Oh,
there.
God, yeah.
And then
Wait
click
a
the
minute.
pointer.
Yes. This thing?
No, that's a line. The go to view.
Tools?
Yeah, tools pointer, exactly. Shit.
Nope.
Oh, right there, a pointer. You see that? You see that next to the text box on the toolbox? Left, next to the text box. No. Scroll down. Go down. You see that? No. Get out of the panel. Click anywhere. Yeah, right. Click anywhere. Okay, and then you see this. There's an error. You see on left, one more, two more, left, go left. No, you're going right, go left, more, left, more, right there, left, you there, yes.
And and if I click on it?
Yeah, click on it, see what happens.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know what it does. Let me go back here.
You want to present this view or you want normal? Just do a view slide. Okay, right there. And then okay. I think it's perfect even without, because such a
I'm not going to bother with it.
yeah,
There's
it's huge.
nothing that I have to point to.
Excellent. So we're gonna start in about 17 minutes, so might as well stick around. Let me just, I'm gonna update a couple of things if you want to take a short break.
Okay,
And then we will
can
resume.
I just stay here, or I'm
Oh, no,
on
you can stay
Zoom
there.
already?
You can stay. You can stay, obviously. Um, I'm
So
just,
people will be, how many people are expected?
no, no worries about 40 maybe.
Okay,
So it's not, like gonna be, overwhelming, but you know, hopefully that's okay.
okay. I'm fine. I mean, I'm
What I want to
married.
do, what I want to do this time, I'm gonna let people talk, so this way it's more interactive.
Okay,
So if that's okay with you, I'm gonna monitor if there's any idiots.
right. We don't want Zoom bombers.
Yeah. I'm gonna definitely monitor that. So my sincerest apologies. If there's gonna be one, I'll kill him right away. Meaning I'll get rid of him, not kill him. That's not the right word.
Well, if you see it happening, then make it so that no one can mute it.
Correct. I'll throw him out immediately because
Okay,
there's no space for that anyway.
okay. Okay, all right, so can,
Yeah, go ahead.
what?
No, I appreciate you doing this. This is really, thank you for, I mean, did you like the, researching this stuff or?
I absolutely loved it.
You see, that's my whole goal is for people to like enjoy this. Like
I
I enjoy this.
totally enjoyed it. For someone like me, though, I'm not a smorgasbord person. I
Uh-huh.
love to know things in depth. I mean, talking about Mesopotamia is sort of like talking about the world in 2 hours. This is just a smattering of a rich, long-standing civilization. I mean, there are so many aspects of it that could be its own presentation: family life, art, literature, law, everything. This is just sort of a taste of Mesopotamia. I found it fascinating.
I'm glad. This was my whole purpose because we enjoy. Obviously, you're here and you always ask great questions, and you are like kind of smorgasbord. You know everything about everything and more detail. So it's like a more detailed smorgasbord. So to speak.
Yeah, I love to do things that are detailed. So, um, a narrow topic is fine for me.
So why?
But this,
Yeah, one of my suggestion is also throw in some of the library stuff you just did too. So that's also relevant, right? Because of you're going to talk about intelligence of Mesopotamian, maybe just you just did the library of Ashurbanipal.
that's okay. I won't do a whole lot.
Okay.
Okay, it's not like I did not incorporate that project into this. I looked at it as an add-on.
Okay.
So, do I need to show myself, or can I put the camera down?
Yeah, you could. You don't have to if you don't feel comfortable. It's fine.
No, I'm not. All
Okay.
right, I'm gonna hide the camera.
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely no requirement
Okay,
whatsoever.
okay. So, all right, so I'll see you in a while.
Yeah, it's exactly 13 minutes. We'll give
Okay,
people 7, 8 minutes. But
okay.
I'm still looking for music.
All
Uh,
right, you go search.
okay, thank you. All right.
Just on this one person, the presentation. That drive carefully.
All right, I gotta, where's, We had a book that had, oh, I have it still down here. It's like a from Mexico, all the beach pictures.
Yeah, it's in the credenza.
Credenza, okay. Here of mothers, a little picture of a mother.
Oh, not in there. Next.
No, get those photos. Oh,
Hey, Zach.
Morning, everyone. How are you? Hey, Mark. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. How are things with you?
Doing great. Doing great. Hi, Judy. Hi, Mikhail. How are you guys? Things are good. How you been, man?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Good, good, good. So, partake today a little bit with us?
A little bit, yeah. It's an interesting topic.
Yeah. Um,
Vianit Soraka Pound. WhatsApp audio.
so we're just waiting for, I guess, people to join. Let me just tell everybody because um, there might be some here, more people joining. We'll give 7 minutes. I'll have to announce it. It's Rolf.
Hi.
Hey, hey, hey. Hi, Beverly.
Hey.
We're just waiting people to join. I'm just gonna make sure that everybody has the link. I see some new faces. That's good. All right. Just
Yes.
Right, we're waiting a couple more minutes before we join, so we'll probably wait until 12:07. Today's the daily life of or history of Mesopotamia. I know it's a huge topic, maybe we'll make it at some point a series, but today it's kind of like an overview. We're particularly going to speak about just a little bit about one person or a discovery of a house of one person. His name is Utu, was discovered by a Belgian scientist back in the days, archaeologist, and so just it would be kind of just an overall overview of Mesopotamia, daily life of Mesopotamia, and today's we're gonna have Beverly help me. She's going to be the main presenter. I'll insert myself with a couple of slides of mine, and then, not to overlap, and, whatever she says, I'll just add to it as well. Beverly has been helping us. She did the slavery in Rome. She did other presentations, helped me a lot with the gladiator presentation, and hopefully she'll, under obviously, she's interested and she said she'll like this topic. You know, I would want her. She's a pleasure to deal with and amazing presenter and a former, educator. So that's why, it comes naturally. Correct me if I'm wrong, Beverly.
Well, an educator, a true educator, should be a lover of learning, which I am.
So we have some new faces here. Emilio Bono, Tomek. I've seen Tomek. I think. Ralph, obviously. So this is not we're not scientists by means of. Think of this as people kind of searching for truth in history. We do have a couple of PhDs presenting, like languages of history languages. Like, for example, today we're going to talk about Mesopotamia. We have John Maloney that does that languages. So he talks about Sumerian. He has presentations on our YouTube channel, which is called History of Fitness Investing, which talks about the Akkadian and Sumerian languages, the two main languages that was used in Mesopotamia. Akkadian, the Semitic language, and later on, obviously, development of Aramaic language, Hebrew language, and we have all of that on our YouTube channel. So we're not going to spend a lot of time speaking about languages. This is going to be more on an overall kind of view of Mesopotamia, just to kind of give a sense, since we've been talking about all these languages, we didn't really talk about history. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Beverly, and she's going to, start talking about Mesopotamia, what it means, and go ahead, Beverly.
Hi, everybody. Just a word about John Maloney. He truly is a scholar. His field of expertise is that he's a linguist in the field of ancient and dead languages. So if ever you have the opportunity to join and listen to him, it's and you have an interest in ancient languages, it's a very rewarding experience. So yeah, Mesopotamia. So we're traveling back. Just let me click this. We're traveling back, oh gosh, thousands of years. And it's thought to be one of the places where early civilization developed. It's a historic region of West Asia within the Tigris-Euphrates river system. It was the Greeks who gave the word gave the name Mesopotamia to this region, and it means the land between two rivers. So this is obviously just a broad view of the land and the water and the geography. So at the time that Mesopotamia emerged, it was a pivotal moment in history in that after the hunter-gatherers learned that if they went to the same places year after year, they would find the same seeds. And this set the groundwork, literally, of remaining in one place in order to obviously have food by growing it from the seeds that were found, and of course to build shelters. So the main types of grains that were grown were barley, wheat, millet, and at that point, in a grain called emmer. At that point, rye and oats were not yet known, and early agriculture's workers farmed sheep, legumes, date palms in the south of Mesopotamia, and grapes in the north. Also, horses had already been, I guess, tamed and were able to be used. They had been, and part of their civilization. At around 34 and between 34 BC and 3000, ancient Mesopotamia, situated in present-day Iraq, and also Kuwait, presented a unique place in the history of human history. All the necessary elements of an urban civilization first appeared in this one place. There were monumental cities with monumental infrastructure, official bureaucracies that oversaw agriculture, economic, and religious practices. The earliest known system of writing and well-developed architecture, arts, and technologies. This area was named the Fertile Crescent. The earliest known records of Mesopotamia dates to the 4th century BC, and it designated as the area between the Tigris and the Euphrates. So the soil was good and necessary in establishing agricultural communities. The Fertile Crescent was not the only origin point, but there were actually other places in the world where farming and domesticated animals arose without any contact with the Fertile Crescent. We, however, know about Mesopotamia and the Fertile Crescent by what was later discovered through archaeologists in that part of the world, and the artifacts that they left behind. Every year, enabling agriculture, which was in existence 7,000 BC, was able to occur when the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers flooded and brought silt, a mixture of soil and tiny rocks, to the land. The fertile silt made the land ideal for farming. Cattle were already domesticated, as I said earlier, as were horses.
7,000 BC.
Over in the slide, you can see that irrigation systems were developed to control the floods. Mesopotamians were responsible for creating the 12-month calendar. And so by doing that, this lunar calendar, they were better able to predict when the floods would occur. And then there was the development of civilization. It was concentrated in southern Mesopotamia, where the dominant ethnic and linguistic group were the Sumerians until about 2000 BC, and famous today for their mythic King Gilgamesh of Uruk. By at least 2700 BC, the Sumerians lived alongside the Akkadians, whose king Sargon established the first lasting Mesopotamian empire, and whose Semitic language evolved into the dialects of both the Babylonians and the Syrians. Those cultures adapted and extended the Sumerian Akkadian heritage that built the great cities of Babylon and Nineveh. And here's a more detailed map if you want to spend some time looking at it, and some of the sculptures that were created by both the Sumerians and the Akkadians. The eyes that on one of the sculptures is missing, they were also, as you'll see, I believe in other slides, were filled with lapis lazuli, which was considered a stone of the gods, because it was the color of the sky. Any questions or comments? Please feel free to ask. Okay.
Please either raise your hand or maybe speak directly. This is an interactive type of presentation. If you have any questions or want to add something, obviously it would be more fun to kind of go back and forth as well. And then, as we're diving into more details. Thank you.
Yeah, Zach, I have a question if it's okay.
Definitely, go ahead.
Yeah, my question, it may be off topic, but I'm curious, to what extent is the land between the two rivers still as fertile as it used to be 3,000 years ago? And if it's not, why?
I don't have the scientific answer if it is what it once was, but I think we probably could both speculate on why and why not it would or wouldn't be. One would be for sure the development of cities that encroached on agricultural lands. In developing society, the increase in technologies, and in as civilization became more developed, so did everything connected with it. in every single field, I think, that we could think of in terms of literacy, which would have enabled the books to be published and the society that became less agrarian and more citified. So I don't really have the actual answer.
Okay, I just have I had a vague recollection that the soil became too high in saline content, and that ruined the fecundity of it. You know, the
Availability of it for growing
yeah,
crops.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's only a vague memory though.
You know, and also, while it looks nice and clean here on a slideshow presentation, these city-states were constantly warring with one another. And I think we can easily imagine the destruction of land through that constant struggle of power and land, to have had a major impact as well on the physicality of the land. So one of the very first ancient city-states was Mari. And Mari is also the name of one of the gods who I'll speak about in a little while. And it's thought that the city-state was named after this god. So now it's 2900 BC. As a new city to control the waterway of the Euphrates trade routes that connected the Levant with the Sumerian south. For unknown reasons, the city was abandoned in 2550 BC. Earlier than 2500 BC, Mari rebuilt and populated. And it was actually King Argon, an Akkadian, who permitted that the city of Mari be rebuilt. And archaeological evidence has shown that it was a trading city in about 1800 BC that went as far as Afghanistan. They today the city, ain't that ancient city, is known as Tel Harari, and it's in Syria, and the Hariri, and the word Tel means mound. You can see on the slide that there were excavations. However, that first kingdom is buried beneath cities that arose on top of it. So it has been very difficult to find a continuing archaeological evidence. And when this second kingdom was built, this superintendent of the city carefully planned it with a royal palace, also serving as a temple. So people who had power were also closest to the gods and goddesses that they worshipped. And we'll continue on and learn more about that. So The first king was Sargon. And the word Sargon of Akkad is the city in which he was born. Well, no, he wasn't born in that city. His creation, it's a creation myth that this king from King of Sumer was descended from heaven, and the gods determine the order in which cities and their rulers held sway. So I think you're going to hear an interesting and pretty familiar story when I tell you that 4,000 years ago, Sargon was born in secret to a priestess mother who sent him adrift on a river, and he was found by a common laborer who raised him. The story of origin continues that he was visited by Ishtar, the goddess of desire, fertility, storms, and warfare. Inspired of the belief that Sargon arose from obscurity and took the world by storm, clearly shows that Sargon had the right to rule despite his humble origins. Here we have, Zach, are you aware of Ur of Nanch of Lagash? This was another city, another example of the artwork. This is carving straight into stone. And this relief was probably given as a votive offering to a god for whom this leader built a temple. And this goes back to 2520 BC, and is can be seen in Tel Arak. I guess one of what this brings to mind is during the war in Iraq and neighboring places, Syria, many of these treasures, these ancient treasures, have been looted and have made their way internationally to buyers unscrupulous, and have wound up in places that have been unable to recapture them and put them in places of safekeeping. Any questions or comments? And that story sounds very similar to the Moses story, who was sent adrift, only to be found. And
Yeah, I was going to ask about that specifically. Is there, I mean, it's speculation whether there's a direct line between the two stories, but is there archaeological evidence that would fill the gaps to say it went from here at this time, in a line to the Moses myth?
wouldn't we be richer for it?
Yeah.
All that's available is what has been uncovered by archaeologists pretty much beginning in the 1800s. And there's always the question of authorship. We have no direct hand evidence. We only have what others have. We don't have much of what people said about themselves. There's only so much about what people said about another person, including kings and stories. And we also know that in an ancient civilization such as Mesopotamia, and later on, there was only speculation, and that's why there were gods and goddesses to help make sense of the living world when there was no way to understand it in a different way. And so these stories were passed on, and the stories that were told and written down in ancient Mesopotamia did make their way into later cultures. And there was, we can also speculate, a picking and choosing of what would make meaning in that present day culture when there was still not the kind of knowledge that would come so many years later to explain what was unexplainable. Does that make a little sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So the earliest known writing was something called cuneiform, and that was a wedge-shaped tool, and it was used for writing on clay tablets that were obviously wet and then over time dried. So this was about 3400 BC in southern Mesopotamia, as pictographs that evolved by 2600 BC into these wedge-shaped script that has the name cuneiform. Recorded Sumerian language, and Akkadian in about 2400 BC. Their language split into two dialects, a bilingual tablet in Assyrian and Babylonian at around 2000 BC. The vast majority of writing was inscribed, as I said, on clay tablets. The most well-known is the epic by the Sumerian Gilgamesh. This was the first piece of writing until 1500 years later, when the Iliad was written. So this is actual, it's an epic, it's written, and it tells a story, although not, we have to be really open-minded in the fact that this was certainly not text in the way that we understand, but it's actually rich language, and written on these clay tablets. only some of which have been, I think, actually determined to be authentic. So the ones that have been found are true treasures. Also this is a bilingual dictionary, and this was part of the Assyrian Empire, and this came from Ashurbanipal's library many years afterwards, when writing was still being inscribed on clay tablets. Any questions or comments? Okay. And the need to believe, I titled as religion. If I can cursor, okay. The earliest undercurrents of Mesopotamian religious thought are believed to have been developed in the 6th millennium BC, beginning with permanent settlements. Evidence of religion date to the mid-4th millennium BC, coinciding with the invention of writing. By the 3rd millennium BC, objects of worship were personified and became an expansive list of divinities with particular functions. By the 2nd and 1st millennia BC, greater gods and universe in heavens and earth were united and later split apart. Humankind was created, and the great gods divided the job of managing and controlling heavens, earth, and the netherworld. The origins of humans are described in the Sumerian poem called the Song of the Hoe. It celebrates and praises the hoe for its many uses. In this myth and in many others, the god Enlil is described as a deity separating heavens and earth and creating humankind. Humanity is formed to provide for the gods, a common theme in Mesopotamian literature. The great gods divided the job of managing and controlling heaven, earth, and the netherworld. The ancient Mesopotamians created statues of their deities in stone. By opening and washing the mouth, it ensured the deity in carved form was able to eat and drink. Sometimes their god statues were taken to other cities. Some Mesopotamian myths were reimagined in biblical stories: the Garden of Eden, the flood, the creation, and the Tower of Babel. As the world's oldest religion, Mesopotamian beliefs influenced later on monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The Song of the Hoe, and actually the Sumerian hoe, looks very much like a hammer. But the Song of the Hoe could also be described as a synonym for life in its description of what a hoe can do. Here are 7 of the ancient Mesopotamian gods. The supreme god And in different Mesopotamian city-states, the names sometimes changed depending on the language that was spoken, either a Sumerian, which was earlier than Akkadian, and the Akkadians subsumed after battle much of what was Sumerian, except for the gods and the goddesses. And the Akkadians made gave the gods their own names that were similar. So the supreme Mesopotamian god was god of the sky, Enki or Ea. And I have to say, I don't know. I'm using my English as a way of pronunciation. I don't know how to say these names in either Sumerian or Akkadian. The wisest of the Mesopotamian gods was also the god of water and wisdom, Enki, Ea. Enlil was god of air, earth, and storms, and also had control over the fates whose commands were unalterable. He was also known as the Great Mountain. Marduk was the king of the gods, and he maintained universal balance, viewed as god of creation, both creation and destruction. Ishtar, also known as Inanna, was queen of the universe, goddess of love, sex, and war. Correspondingly, was fertility and politics. She often challenged the authority of the gods or initial confrontations that triggered important events. So she was very powerful in a culture that definitely was male dominated. Shamash, Utu, the all-seeing Mesopotamian god of the sun, who saw everything thus is associated with truth and justice. So it was Shamash or Utu who on his travels before sunrise, traveled the day and was able to see everything there was to see because he was the sun and the sun shone on everything. And then there was Nana or Sin, god of the moon, who also had the ability to see the future and to control the destiny of mortals. Nana was worshipped throughout Mesopotamian history. The great ziggurat in Ur was dedicated to him. And the god of the sun and the god of the moon held great importance in that they were always in the sky, with, of course, the sky always being above, and thus on and Anu, the supreme Mesopotamian god. And this is a relief of some of the gods, and I found it interesting that lions were a present all in this geographical region. So they're also often depicted in artwork. Comments or questions? Okay. As I was talking earlier about how do we know, what do we know, and how do we know it about authorship? And that brought me to the question of Gilgamesh and did he exist? Although there's not a direct source of Gilgamesh having lived, there are inscriptions crediting him with building the great city walls of Uruk, in modern day Iraq. He's also referenced, in the Sumerian king list of around 2100. There's an actual list of all the kings that had lived. Gilgamesh is known as the semi-mythic king, best known as the hero of the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was written around 250 and up to 1400. So it's like I had said earlier, the great Babylonian poem that predates Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, therefore claiming it as the oldest piece of world literature. Gilgamesh's father is said to have been the priest king Lugalbanda, who was featured in 2 Sumerian poems concerned with his magical abilities, which predate Gilgamesh, and his mother, the goddess Ninsun, the Holy Mother and Great Queen. And here is a statue of him. And here again, we see what appears to be a lion cub. Some of the ancient literature is a piece called The Song of the Hoe. Author, I have no idea. And here it is. And where there are question marks or where there are question marks, it just means that further information is not known. Either it was unavailable, or it was unable to be deciphered. And all AL is in place because it means God. The God who was the God of Mesopotamian culture. Not only did the Lord make the world appear in its correct form, who never changes the destinies which he determines, Enlil, who will make the human seed of the land come forth from the earth, not only did hasten to separate heaven from earth and hasten to separate heaven from earth, but in order to make humans grow, he did this with the help of the hoe, God. Then Enil praised his hoe, God. His hoe wrought in gold, its top inlaid with lapis lazuli. His hoe, God, whose blade was tied on with a cord, which was adorned with silver and gold. His hoe, God, the edge of whose point was a plow of lapis lazuli, whose blade was like a batter ram standing up to a great wall. The Lord evaluated the hoe. God determined its future destiny and placed a holy crown on its head. And here, of course, this would be played on an ancient instrument. And I think by hearing and reading this Song of the Hoe has both literal and interpretive meaning and definition. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the subject he pursues in his quest for the meaning of life. He leaves the comfort of his city following the death of his best friend, Enkidu, to find the mystical figure Utnapishtim and eternal life. Gilgamesh's fear of death is actually his fear of living a life without meaning. Although he doesn't win immortality, his quest itself gives his life meaning. The fullest existing text is on tablet 12, text is on 12 incomplete Akkadian language tablets found at Nineveh in the library of the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal. And here is his best friend. The story of Gilgamesh, and I think, Zach, you can talk more about it, is, just a fascinating, and it's so thoughtful, and it brings the very thoughts that human this day think about and consider. Zach?
Yes.
Do you want to add anything?
All I know is basically for the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? I mean, it's interesting that, you know, we find so many corresponding, like in the Bible, for example, you know, the deluge, and also where it was found, like Ashurbanipal had the most legit copy that they found. The Babylonian copy is the most one that was coveted for Gilgamesh. And then you did the presentation on Ashurbanipal, but they have found, you know, in Hittite cities, they have found Gilgamesh writing in, you know, in so many areas in Mesopotamia. It was just, and they all match one for one, even though there was a sporadic, you know, it wasn't like one text. They were piecing it together basically. But as you have alluded, you know, it is an interesting story about a human basically being shown as being a god, but the god is mortal, so to speak. So that's something that you know, we can't relate to in the current days. But in those days, apparently he was a mischievous human that would run around with this Enkidu, who is, basically taught him, he sleeps with different women, he does different things, and basically the morality wasn't prevalent at the time. That's my 2 cents. So anybody wants to, we had again, John Maloney did the presentation on Gilgamesh. If you guys wanted to check it out on our History of Fitness Investing YouTube channel, it's an amazing presentation. And I think he, even did it off the original, like written in Akkadian language. So
Oh, cool. I'll do that. Thanks, Zach.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is actually a meetup presentation in and of itself. This is a tiny brushstroke. And here's a woman, Enheduanna, high priestess of Inanna, who was Sumerian, and we're talking about around the 23rd century BC. So this is interesting. In some places it said that she was the daughter of Sargon, who was the first and most powerful king of Akkad. If he wasn't her daughter, she was a woman in who Sargon held her in high esteem. So she is named as the first literary author in history through her works of literature, hymns, and poems. They form an important part of Mesopotamia's rich literary history. And again comes authorship, the question of it. And specifically, her poems have been subjected to significant debate. One argument is that manuscript sources dated from at least 6 centuries after she lived, and it was found in a scribal setting, meaning that scribes wrote it and she didn't, not in a ritual setting. And we're talking, in these ancient times, very few people could read and write. And of course, one of the most important positions anyone could have would be to be literate. And so it was the position of the scribe, mostly men, who would do official writing. And also surviving sources show no traces of Old Sumerian, which would have been the language in which she would have been writing. Old Sumerian, or it was on the cusp of Sumerian and Akkadian. So making it impossible to know what the original of her works might have looked like. And then there are other Assyriologists who say that the poet names herself in a number of works to establish authorship. So her hymns redefine the gods for the people of the Akkadian Empire under Sargon's rule and help to provide religious homogeneity, which the king sought. Homogeneity brought stability. And this disc was found with her on it at the site of Ur, and the inscriptions on the disc identify Enheduanna, her estate manager, her hairdresser, and her scribe. And so an art form gives credibility to the distinct possibility that she was who she says she was, and others have said about her, though there is no solid proof. And here is a carving of her. She also had a relationship with the goddess Ishtar. And if you want to know more, there's a lot to read about, and read her poems that include the names of other gods and goddesses. Okay, so where did the ancient gods dwell? They dwelled on a ziggurat. This is the ruins of the ziggurat of Ur. From Sumerian times, was built to honor the moon god Nana. The step pyramid featured terraced levels that were as high as 210 feet in length, 148 feet in width, and 98 feet in height, possibly. It served as an administrative center for the city and a shrine for Nana, its patron saint deity. Ziggurats were temples. Only the high priests were allowed on them or in its rooms at the base. It was their responsibility to care for the gods and attend to their needs, temples, and in temples and in its shrines. And little information. So these ziggurats would have had terraces. Those terraces would have had plants, both hanging and standing, and they would be very, very beautiful. Many steps were required to climb to the top, in which there was a temple, and only the high priest would be allowed to go up there.
Beverly, we have a question from Mark. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. I was curious, is there any evidence to conclude whether the ziggurat, see, I can't remember, don't understand if it's just one place or multiple, but whether they were painted or not?
They were absolutely in different city states. In fact, they're used as, or they inspired the biblical story of the Tower of Babel. It was a place of worship. They're well preserved. I don't know if I haven't read anything that talks about it having been painted. The ziggurats, the king the kings who wanted to worship their gods were the ones who instructed the building of these. And this one, the place in was for the goddess of Nana, the divine patron of that state. Would take about 1,500 laborers working about 10 hours a day for about 5 years in order to build a ziggurat. If you think of it, it's like it's an engineering marvel in order to remain standing, in order to climb, in order not to be destroyed by the fall apart and destroyed by the laws of gravity. So yeah, and I'm just speculating, but I'm pretty certain that this became a something to look at and model the Great Pyramids on. And of course, Egyptian civilization came later. It was always built with core of mud brick. And one of the creations that the Mesopotamians discovered was how to make bricks from the materials that were available. And of course, to this day, baked bricks are strong. Does that help? Did I answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, shed some light. Oops. And then famous Hammurabi and the Code of Hammurabi. So Hammurabi sought to improve the lives of those under his rule according to his own document. Whoops, I'm sorry. Oops. Okay. There were many directives on his on documents that called for building of canals, distributing food, building projects, and legal issues. His ideal is he wanted and lived during his rule to both elevate those who followed rules and punish those who did not, because it was only stabilization. In order to have a stable society, it was important that people got what they needed, but also remained law-abiding. His code of law was clear and sought to prevent vendetta and blood feuds by clearly stating the crime and the punishment which would be administered. And the Code of Hammurabi was available for absolutely everyone to see. It was out in the open on a tablet. And it included the phrase lex talionis, better known as an eye for eye. Adultery and sorcery were considered the most serious crimes because it was thought that these would undermine social society. And so I think I speak a little bit more about it on the next slide, but they were punishable by death. This was a time also when there was slavery. And so the laws for slaves were harsher than those for citizens, as for those who were in leadership positions. Though slavery, and here's the code, though slavery may have existed before the Mesopotamian civilization, the Babylonian king Hammurabi produced the oldest known reference of slavery. And it states, if anyone take a male or female slave of the court, or a male or female slave of a freed man outside the city gates, he shall be put to death. So the code of laws was not equally applied. As I spoke earlier, it was recognized as an eye for an eye justice. The law contains 282 case laws with legal procedures and penalties. These laws and punishments depended on one's social class. The code was written in the old Babylonian dialect of Akkadian and is etched into a 7-foot high stone stele. And here is a relief carving of Hammurabi receiving the law from the seated Shamash, the Babylonian god of justice. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Code of Hammurabi, and I did at some point I did a presentation on the Code of Hammurabi, and a lot of the archaeological digs took place, oh my goodness, maybe from the 1830s all the way up to, or the 1840s to the 1930s. And Zach, am I correct when I say that there was a young man who worked at a bank, and he would come every day to look at the Code of Hammurabi and began working at the Louvre, piecing the tablet, helping to piece the tablet together?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. So that's an interesting story about this young man who, I guess it became almost like an obsession. And he was invited to work there and helped to put together the pieces that form the code. On this slide, which I'm sorry I don't have, story I don't have, is a piece of the code. But again, this is what I call just a little paintbrush in Mesopotamian civilization. So it's 7 feet high. I'm pretty sure it's at the Louvre. And there are many, many images of it, of course, on the internet. And then there was King Ashurbanipal. His name, although I have it written the way it is, it's also split up into ASSUR, capital A, and then a separation or a dash with Banipal being the second part of the name. So he was a warrior, a scholar, an empire builder, a kingslayer, and a librarian. And he is a fascinating person in ancient history. So he ruled from about 669 to 631 BC. And he followed the reign of his father. And his father found it very important for his son to be educated. And Ashurbanipal took that very seriously. So instead of other city-states where the kings were leading armies on far-flung campaigns as land grab, he preferred to stay at home. Although he did send out others to do his, I'm going to call it dirty work, which was taking over other city-states. And his father felt that if he were educated, he would have direct access, not to the gods maybe, but what the gods know. And he was also interested in literature, to the point that he created you can imagine the size of it, a collection of over 30,000 clay fragments inscribed with cuneiform. With their discovery, his kingdom, the Assyria, his story was told in their own words. And again, while sorting through tablet fragments, a story about a great flood, just like the biblical story of Noah, was discovered way back. In the presentation, I spoke about every year the Tigris and the Euphrates would flood, thereby the necessity to invent and develop a way of irrigation. So at some point in Mesopotamian civilization history, there was someone who wrote a story about a particular flood, and then was later on borrowed by subsequent cultures. So over here, he was actually a pretty ruthless warrior, and he was an expert equestrian. He was an expert at using weapons of war and and here is, you can see him with this, you don't know the formal name of it, but simplistically, it's an arrow with a lot of velocity. Let me see, whoops, let's see. So, this tablet may be one of the tablets of that were either, so here's how he got all of this, all of these documents and literature and poetry, is he would send out scribes to the different city states and would have them copy what was original and then have it brought back to Assyria. And I don't have it labeled, so I am not certain. It's just, it is a fragment of what? I just don't know. Because I didn't label it, but this is interesting. So again, you can look on the internet to see images of what let's say, for example, Ashurbanipal's palace might have looked like, which was a thing of splendor, and his library would rival any library thereafter. For particular fragments of writing, they were stored in, here's an example of where it was found, in these what look like cubbies. And sometimes small fragments were actually stored in stone boxes, in which were that were inlaid with precious metals, and the most precious stone of all, lapis lazuli. And another interesting fact was important pieces of writing were also buried, were found on foundation. They were cornerstones of buildings that were created. There's also on YouTube a presentation on where King Ashur, Zach, what is it? Is it part of slavery, or is it Ashurbanipal on his own on YouTube?
The one on the right or left? That's
No,
Ashurbanipal.
in him,
Yeah,
Ashurbanipal.
that's Ashurbanipal on its own. He's
So yeah, so there's a YouTube video on just Ashurbanipal. So this is Mesopotamian family. And here are examples of this is marriage. This is actually these two sculptures were devotional sculptures. And here is a Mesopotamian family. This is the father of the family. And So it was the family that was considered the essential unit. It provided social stability in the present, maintained traditions of the past, and stability for the future. Marriages were strictly seen as business arrangements arranged by the head of the family, usually male. Interestingly, the word for love was a compound verb that, in its literal sense, meant to mark off land. And what that meant, when the newlyweds who would first live with the husband in their home, and at some point would go off and build a home of their own, and it would be on the same land. So it would be a community of related families. The purpose of marriage was to ensure and perpetuate an orderly society. In the eyes of the state, it was not companionship, but procreation, not personal happiness in the present, but to buy communal continuity for the future. And there were laws, in fact, on the Code of Hammurabi. There are no less than 68 sections in which the code made divided, or about a fourth, of the relationship between a husband and wife, of parents and children. It's a valuable indication how important a social organization was.
Kimberly, can I add to it a little bit?
Yup.
The most important thing was that the father was the head of the family, and if, let's say, a father wanted to sell one of his sons, he can't do it. So he basically was not just the patriarch of the family, he was also you could even think of as a slave owner of his children, basically. And you've mentioned marriage before. And particularly in Hammurabi law, it describes the marriage, whether it's either man or a woman can pay at this point we'll call it alimony, palimony. But in that case, a woman, was considered to be equal in that regard. The only way she was not considered equal, as you mentioned, she was not allowed to read because they were not, at the time, wasn't considered intelligent human beings. Obviously, now women are much more intelligent and more intelligent than men. So, but at the time, it was just a conception, and that's why only the man could read, and therefore they had an opportunity to hire a lawyer during the divorce and get a substantial amount of child support and alimony for the family. So just an addition. As far as the Hammurabi law, when it comes to the particular household thing, so let's say a house that was built by builders and it's mud bricks, or it falls, and what could happen is the builder's son, let's say somebody gets killed during the destruction of their house, the builder's son has to be killed or responsible for basically a word eye for an eye. And the Hammurabi law in that regard was used as punishment. So in that regard, I just wanted to add that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. The law is, and we're talking about the Code of Hammurabi, the law severe against I guess I'll preface it by the laws were to ensure the purity of family life. So the law severe against the faithless wife, condemning her and the adulterer to death by drowning, but it also protects her against false accusations. If she's falsely accused, be she a wife or a virgin who has taken a vow of chastity, if she's publicly humiliated, the person who made these false applications would have their forehead branded. Sounds like Roman slavery too. Even the husband had to substantiate the charge against his wife. And the wife could free herself from suspicion by an oath. However, if she were to marry again, the same ordeal of the river god as the one accused of witchcraft. So even if she's charged, though, the husband might exercise his right of, and this is actually what it was, his wife was a possession, and he could allow his wife to live. And likewise, the king could also grant mercy to the male offender. This is, let's see what the next slide is. Okay, I was just gonna say that, whoops, going back a bit. There was actually a whole liberal aspect beyond the Mesopotamian family, although I'm not sure, I don't know if it holds for the Sumerians, the Akkadians, and the Assyrians, and maybe it just refers to the Babylonians, but in Babylon, there was, of course, marriage, but there was a lot, there were relationships outside of marriage, whether they be same-sex or intersex, or there was definitely trans-dressing, wearing males wearing female clothes and vice versa. So Babylon is not included in this presentation. So, but I'm suspecting that unless the civilization were to become non-existent, it would eventually become, it wasn't due to the Mesopotamian family falling apart. Speculation. Any comments or questions? So Mesopotamian contributions to civilization included the invention of copper fabrication. So initially, the Sumerians were able to manufacture small objects, and as the manufacturing progress improved, then came copper alloys, and bronze was created, and ornate pattern and designs were incorporated into items. Especially, they were able to make statues of their gods. Interestingly, the wheel was not originally designed for transportation, but it's thought that the first wheels were used as potter's wheels, which would provide people with, I mean, obviously pots and plates and cups and vessels. Ancient beer recipes were invented, were easy to make, only needed cereal, sugar, and time to ferment. And it was the women who were involved in beer making, and everyone drank it, including children. And the oldest recipe was made from barley. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the poem describes how town planning was a contribution, how the city walls of Uruk were constructed of baked bricks, as well as the foundation to support the brickwork and what I spoke about earlier. Cursive writing emerged in the 4th century in Sumer as cuneiform. Cartography was in the form of clay tablets on which landmarks were precisely marked. The oldest road map of the city of Nuzi was created somewhere between 2360 and 2180 BC. Astronomy, science, and mathematics were advanced. The Venus tablet of the king of Babylon made note of celestial occurrences. And again, this would enable them to know when floods would typically take place. Typical math questions were asked in the form of geometric figures, but the solution would probably be in algebraic form. Mathematical calculations were in the form of we have a base 10 numerical system. In Mesopotamia, it was base 60, thereby minutes, seconds, minutes, and the hour based on the clock, based on 60. The degrees in a circle, 360. The calendar had 12 months. I only talked about 7 of the major deities, but there were 5 more. So the calendar was broken into 12 months. Each of the months was designated by a deity, as were the constellations in the sky. And then the standard of and the standard of was, this would show this standard was made using metals, using lapis lazuli. It is now it's now in the British Museum. This would be in, or this was in a box. And it may have been brought from city to city, but it was to show how prosperous the people were of this civilization. And I thought that this would be a good way to bring to a close the civilization of of ancient Mesopotamia. I just wanted to end also with two more comments. Sargon of Akkad, the great king, and his successors gave to the world concept of power that involved more than military strength. They commanded Sargon and his successors, they commanded obedience, not only by striking fear in foes and winning battles, but also imposing order, dispensing justice, and serving as earthly representatives of their gods, that their subjects both revered and dreaded. The end of Mesopotamian civilization ended with Babylon. It became a city of success and envy. And so it was that in 539 BC, it was conquered by Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, and over time disappeared, was taken over, or was inhabited by different people, not a cohesive civilization in the way in which Mesopotamia was. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. All I want to do right now, we have about 20 minutes, is talk about a couple of points. First, I want to play a video of how the music was played in ancient Mesopotamia. And again, thank you, Beverly. This was an incredible presentation.
I'm so sorry for interrupting.
Sure.
I just was going to say that the languages, the cuneiform languages, were actually able to be used to create 12 distinct languages in the ancient world. And in my research, I was able, it is not a secure site, so I'm not going to give it to you, but there are obviously scholars who can speak and read in these ancient languages. And part of Gilgamesh, maybe 4 minutes of part of the story, part of the epic, is read aloud by one of these scholars. And the best that could be said, and it's not my opinion, is that it sounds a lot like Arabic.
Thank you so much.
Which in fact may have been connected. I mean, Arabic may have emerged out of cuneiform and those ancient languages.
That's interesting, because the Arabic is Semitic language, so
it would make sense.
Right, Akkadian was the lingua franca of a day that even Hittites and Egyptians had scribes that would speak to, and then we're talking about Amarna letters. That's how they communicated, between Ahmantep and Hattushali, between Hittites and Egyptians. They're using Akkadian Mesopotamian language. So thank you again, Beverly. And Beverly, if you can stop sharing, I can show the YouTube video of how Mesopotamian music, particularly one of the instruments, would play. And then I see Mark sending me something. I want to play this one. Well, in today's date, it's called dutar, but I'll let you know what the name of the playing instrument is. Okay, if everybody's ready, I'll play it. I'll show it first, and then I'll play it. One second. All right. One second. Yeah. Does everybody see the screen?
Yes,
Okay, good. So this particular instrument is, he's gonna play, but Epic of Gilgamesh. It's played on Gindudu, which is by Pilgrimage, which is one of the instruments that was used in Mesopotamia. And this is Epic of Gilgamesh.
Shiva Musu Ishkalam Makai Shiva Shuri Nakalam Makai Antika Badaba Ki Amita Badasura Nunu
Thank you, everyone. One more thing is I just want to talk a little bit about a discovery that was made, and over 1,200 tablets was found in the city of Sippur. And just give me 1 second, I'll share that. And its discovery was found by the priests that used to live around 1600 BC. and his name was Ur-Utu, and again, city of Sippur. And I'll talk about his story particularly. It's not very well spoken about story, but it's pretty interesting. So just give me 1 second. All right, does everybody see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, good, excellent. So first, what I want to do is show you where that would be located in today's date. So if you can see city of Sippur, not today's date, but back in the days, we're talking about 1600 BC. This city is Sippur, which is, you know, quite a ways from Kish and Nippur, which was mentioned by Beverly. City of Uruk, you know, city of Ur. So we're talking about west of those cities. So particularly a Belgian archaeologist, his name is El de Meyer, found in excavating this site called Tel Erder, the hut or house by this priest who was pretty well-to-do priest. His name was, you know, Ur-Utu. And, you know, general story about him, you know, what they found about 1,200 clay tablets that he's left behind. The general story is basically of the bravery, right? So there was invaders that came to the city, probably Hurrians or some other tribe, and he tried to escape it, you know, from this foreign tribe, tried to gather as much as he can. And he's going through the most important tablets that you wanted to gather, right? And we'll talk about the tablets, what they represent, and what kind of. Mostly, it's his particularly, you know, it's a deed to the house, it's his marriage contract. It's very simple stuff, you know. His grain and barley contracts, but he wants to get all those things, so in case he comes back, you know, he can collect it all. So basically, a little bit about this guy, Ur-Utu. He inherited this house from, he was actually called Chief Lamentation Priest. So he was, he was into, you know, this type of stuff. So almost like a shaman, so to speak. And his house he inherited from his father, whose name is Lamasani. And, you know, and it was 1656 BC. Okay, back in the days. And house was renovated according to the contract in 1630. So even they kept the installments, the renovations to the house, maybe for some kind of, there was probably an IRS back in the days in the city of Nippur. And so what, you know, this Belgian architect has discovered, like I said, in 1975, in the courtyard, they were about to throw out about 1,200 or so tablets that belonged to this guy Ur-Utu, the lamented priest, and he stopped it. Basically, 1,283 text tablets. And as we know, the text, you know, tablets get preserved due to the fact that there was a fire through the foreign attack, and Ur-Utu's, you know, in trying to gather his family's belonging, escaped, and you know, all these tablets had preserved. They only took with them like 40 tablets that were most important tablets. So the text in the volume consists of so all these tablets will talk about you know, administrative text and juridical text, subgroup and receipts and the lists. Some dealing with the cult of Amanitum, which is one of the, you know, religious you know, deities, and letters, you know, and basically throughout the years they tried to, you know, transcribe it, and you know, they talk about the property belongings, his tablet, and you know, you know, and he's particularly, there's a lot of religious text because he's a, you know, a priest lamenter, and he talks about all the stuff. So I want to show you what was, you know, found basically in the house. You know, some of the artifacts. There's this game board, looks like a checkers, you know, for children, you know, toys for children on the left bottom. This is the bed where they slept. The way the bed was designed is they basically would wrap the wool, around the bed, so it's more comforting to sleep. Their huts wasn't really as Beverly had mentioned. They had mud bricks, and only the kings and the nobility could afford normal bricks as an alternative, because mud bricks is the only one available. Also, they had no wood, right? So there's no way. I mean, in Mesopotamia, or wood was very scarce, so they used other means, as we know or discuss right now, to heat up their houses. The insular system. Even though 3,000 years ago they did have the plumbing and they had bathrooms and stuff like that, but it wasn't anything that we can think about. And on the left, this is how it looked, basically in general. What I wanted to do, so I spoke about Ur-Utu, and I'll read a little bit about his story. So the story of Ur-Utu, just to summarize it, is an epic tale of bravery and quick thinking in the face of disaster. Once wealthy priest in the city of Sippur, Ur-Utu was caught off the guard when foreign tribes attacked his city. Panic swept through the streets as people tried to flee to safety, including Ur-Utu, who knew he had to act fast to protect his family and their wealth. Despite the chaos and confusion, Ur-Utu rushed to his study, where he knew thousands of important documents were kept. You can imagine thousands of clay tablets around. With the help of his cloth servant, he gathered as much as he could, wrapping family treasure in a bag and getting ready to flee. However, before leaving, Ur-Utu knew he had to protect his family interests and carefully selected which documents to take with him. That's why we have 1,200 tablets preserved, because he only took a few. Amid the smoke and flames, I just said the house was burning, the spread across the city, Ur-Utu stumbled in his haste to leave, tripping onto 2 steps and dropping some documents. Despite the risk, Ur-Utu managed to save most important documents, including agreements, lists, prayers, as well as ones related to his family's wealth, such as receipts and records of owned silver and barley. So I don't know if you know, barley was a scarce commodity that people would pay in barley. It was a barter exchange, kind of like I'll pay for for meat. I'll pay for other aspects, for honey, using barley. And also barley was used during to make beer, which was extremely useful. Obviously, people would gather around, play music, and we just played, and drink, sip beer. We don't think about the beer as a today's beer. I think more of a very thick fermented product. With people sit around and put long straws, and particularly they had a god that was actually contribute. Was in the name of beer. Inanno was a beer god, so that's an interesting aspect. Ur-Utu, quickly thinking and attention to detail, not only protected his family wealth, but also helped 12th century archaeologists to piece together the story of the epic saga. His story highlights the importance of protecting one's family and wealth through legal agreements, written records, and ancient Mesopotamian society. So next time you're faced with unexpected challenges, think of Ur-Utu and his bravery and quick thinking, and remember to protect what matters most of having a good plan in place. Any questions? Anybody wants to add anything, maybe? Did I lose everybody? Hello? I guess not.
No, I was just going to add one thing about the beer, Zach.
Yeah, sure.
Is one major way that it differed would be the fact that they in Mesopotamia did not have hops. Hops come from Northern Europe, Czech Republic, Germany and everything, and hops give a bitterness to it, so that balances the any sweetness and the with the bitterness of the hops. So the Mesopotamian and later the Egyptian beers would have been very low in alcohol, because they were using natural yeast, and it would have been sweet. The closest thing you can come to it is in Hispanic markets and Caribbean markets. They have a drink called Malta, not, just, it's called malt, it's basically malt. And you could, if you try that, that's the best approximation to what they would have drank at the time.
Wow, thank you so much for additions. Any
Mhm.
other? Go ahead. Who's next? Anybody has any questions or want to add anything? This was incredible, Beverly. I mean, I virtually did no work here. It's all you. Appreciate so
Thank
much.
you.
Anybody has any questions? Want to add anything? No?
Just to thank you, Zach.
Oh, thank you. This was, incredible. And thanks for adding. Thanks, Mark, for participating. Thanks, everybody, for joining. And on that note, I wanted to end today's presentation. And, let's
My. hang
hold
on
on.
a
Just
second.
one
Let me
more
put it
thing.
right back.
And
Yeah.
thank you, Beverly. You did everything right. Thank
Okay, let
you.
me just say something. Hold on. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed doing it.
One more thing, I just want to talk about upcoming presentations that's are gonna happen. So this Wednesday, Richard is gonna talk about the Syria under Assad. That's one presentation. Then we have Asian philosophy today. We're going to talk about satirical novels, scholars of satirical novels. Then we have Modi questions. Anybody wants to join us? And my friend Narul is going to talk about Modi and his policies in India. So that's going to be very interesting, and let's join us on that one. Then we, at the end of May, we're actually doing Templars, and my friend Jonathan is going to talk about the knighthood and Templars, and he's going to have an interesting presentation of, he has an armors from that he collects. I mean, not the authentic one, but he's like Sergio, if anybody remembers. Then Richard is going to do Ukrainian conflict. There's going to be some really interesting updates in June. Also in June, we're doing powerful women presentation by Jane, and we'll have another language presentation. Mostly it's probably going to be related to the either English language or German language. We're going to find a Nordic connection obviously there. So please join us for those and many more presentations to come. And everybody have a nice rest of the weekend. Thank you so much. Thank you, Beverly, especially, and that was incredible. Thank you.